Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate, day number 603, Friday, November the 9th, 2018. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get right to it. Well, Matt Whitaker, the acting Attorney General, has already started on the right foot. He, along with Kirstjen Nielsen, put out a statement today stating that they will bar aliens who violate a presidential suspension of entry or other restriction from asylum eligibility. In other words, the recent presidential directive, executive order, whatever you want to call it, barring these illegals in the caravan, the migrants, they are not going to be able to legally enter the U.S. And it has now been backed up by Matt Whitaker, the acting Attorney General, along with Kirstjen Nielsen. No doubt there will be some challenge in the courts, but by the time they figure that out, this show will be over. So, as they approach the border, not sure how many of them will actually make it, as they seem to be losing enthusiasm and energy and resources, but the ones who do make it are going to meet, quite honestly, a wall. Maybe not a physical barrier wall, but they're going to meet an awful lot of U.S. personnel, Border Patrol, National Guard, and regular troops. Also, a lot of concertina wire that they've stretched out there. And other people, some people call that razor wire, whatever you want to call it. Having had some experience with it, I can tell you it will shred you. You will not get through concertina wire without pretty much shredding yourself to pieces. So, the migrant caravan will not be successful. I think it's dawning on them that they're not going to be successful, and many of them now are just kind of scattering throughout the country. They'll try to come in probably thinking their odds are better, trying to slip through in small groups as opposed to being part of a large group. But they're going to be at the border, and all 17 checkpoints are going to be fortified, as well as the other entry points that they use to get in are going to be well fortified. So it's going to be very difficult. A few of them will probably slip in, but most will not. And any idea that the lefties are going to be able to use the courts to try to make a maneuver is not going to work, because the acting Attorney General, Matt Whitaker, has already stepped in it big time. He's stepped up and already made this decision that they are going to enforce the presidential directive and that and uphold that law, that order by the president, that they are not going to allow any entry or asylum entry based on asylum eligibility. They're not going to allow that. So anyway, there you go. Already Matt Whitaker paying big dividends. And it's going to get much, much better. Believe me. So there you go. That problem will be taken care of. Again, it will be challenged, but by the time they get the challenges through the various courts, the action will have already taken place. So there you go. That's good news. Well, Ocasio-Cortez, who managed to win that congressional seat, has already joined the fight. She's in it. She's all in, my friends. Ocasio-Cortez is all in, and she's already found her first tough fight to engage in. In a recent interview, she's now stating that newly elected Congress critters, or the newly elected Congress critter, Ocasio-Cortez, has stated that finding an apartment in the District of Columbia before receiving her congressional salary is a real challenge. Ocasio-Cortez is asking, how do I get an apartment? It's very hard to do on a bartender's salary. So there you go. Ocasio-Cortez already hits the ground running with the first big issue she's attacking: how to find an apartment in D.C. You see, she won't get her first check from Congress for 3 months because Congress doesn't actually take over. The new Congress doesn't actually take over officially for 2 months. And then they get paid monthly, so it'll be a month after she starts. She'll get paid at the end of that third month. So, yeah, that is a big, big issue for Ocasio-Cortez, especially as a socialist, Now, a capitalist would have no problem understanding this, and that is simply that you don't go to D.C. if you don't have the money for an apartment yet. You stay in New York, where she lives, and then you catch a flight when it's time to go serve. And for about a month, you'll have to fly there on Monday, come home on Friday. Most Congress people who've been there for 10, 15, 20 years do that. They never actually have an apartment in D.C. They fly there. They have these rooms that they rent sometimes, very low rent rooms. Some of them actually sleep in their office, like Jim Jordan. He doesn't have an apartment or a place in D.C. He has a cot in his office and an alarm clock. And then he goes down and uses the congressional facilities for showers and bathrooms and stuff like that. So there's plenty of ways that Ocasio-Cortez would easily, like most other people elected to Congress, go manage that particular situation as a new member of Congress. But clearly, as an idiot and a liberal social justice warrior who thinks that everything should be done for her by the government, is now finding out that yes, you actually have to make some decisions for yourself. You have to secure your own place for yourself. No one's going to do that for you because we don't live in a socialist America, not yet. So she's already in the fight, my friends. Ocasio-Cortez, she will get that apartment, come hell or high water. Just watch. She'll probably start a GoFundMe page. Well, we have the idiot Joy Behar, who I literally cannot stand. I can't even watch her. I can't even watch her for like 2 seconds. I get stupid. I actually feel like when I've watched Joy Behar in the past, I actually feel like I lost about 10 IQ points for every 10 seconds I watch her. And I really don't have that much to spare, to be honest with you. Anyway, Joy Behar says that the White House aide committed battery against Jim Acosta. Committed battery against Jim Acosta. Wait a minute. That doesn't seem to jive too well with the Me Too movement. I thought women were always victims. Women should always be believed. It's always the white guy's fault. But in this case, Joy Behar has flipped the script. And now it's the female White House aide's fault for trying to get the microphone after the president said, "You're done. Next question." It's that White House aide. It's her job to get the microphone and give it to the next person. And we saw Acosta push her away. Keep her from getting that microphone. He pushed back, put his hand on her arm right here to push her away. They should never, ever give this guy his White House pass back. Ever. Never, ever. He should be done. Well, if most of you are paying close attention, I'm sure you are, you're probably aware of the fact that the Commie-crats are trying to steal the Florida and Nevada Senate seats. Now, it appears in the last 24 hours or so, they have found newly discovered votes in Nevada, which they say now gives Kristen Sinema the lead over Martha McSally. How about that? And of course, in Florida, this is going to get ugly in Florida, I can assure you of that. And what is it about Broward County? That's the same county that we had the issue with in 2000, controlled by liberals. So they're trying to steal the seats in Florida and Nevada, and now Gillum is saying that he may retract his concession. Not sure that you can really do that, especially like 3 or 4 days after the fact. But they're down in Florida and in Nevada. The Commie-crats are now finding many votes for the Commie-crats who lost their elections there, but they're finding plenty of votes, so they'll keep counting and counting and counting until they finally come up with the right number, if you know what I mean. I assume these probably both of these two states is going to end up in the courts. It's going to end up being very ugly, but I do believe in the end, I do believe in the case of Florida, I don't think Gillum has any shot whatsoever. I think DeSantis is going to stand as governor. I think Rick Scott is going to have that seat. It's hard to say what will happen in Arizona, because as far as they're concerned now in Arizona, they have found several thousand votes for Kristen Sinema, and it looks like they're going to maybe try to declare her the winner of that race, maybe as early as tomorrow. That will likely end up in the courts as well. We know that the Commie-crats have already sent hordes of lawyers to both Nevada and Florida to do their dirty work. And so I certainly hope that the DOJ gets involved, especially now that we have a new acting attorney general. Certainly this is a federal election issue. It's something that I'm sure he's already on this, and has probably already sent some feds down there to take a look at the situation. I would have to assume that the GOP has sent their lawyers down there as well. So the fight for Florida and Nevada is not over. The Democrats will try everything they can by hook or crook to steal any election they can, whether it's pumping in tons of billions of dollars of dirty money, whether it's illegals voting. We don't know how many illegals voted in Nevada or Florida, but we know it's probably many. Of course, they count illegal votes in both those places when Democrats are counting the votes. And remember what Joseph Stalin said: he who casts votes decides nothing. He who counts the votes decides everything. Now, as you know, yesterday in my video, I suggested that Trump would be appointing a new Supreme Court justice because I said it's unlikely that Ruth Buzzy Ginsburg would survive another 2 years. And I didn't mean live. I meant be functionally capable of performing the role of a Supreme Court justice. Because she's got a lot of issues, right? Well, you know, some people are making some comments. I didn't jinx her, and I certainly wish nothing bad on Justice Ginsburg. I mean, you know, this goes beyond politics. You know, I don't want anything bad to happen to Justice Ginsburg. I just want her to leave the court, preferably healthy and happy and wise and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't want to see her go down this way. I just want to see her come to her senses and realize she's just getting too damn old and that she needs to leave, right along with Souter, who's right behind her. In fact, Souter might actually end up retiring before her. He's 82, she's 85. They are the next two to go, and likely Trump, certainly I would think before 2020, will replace one of them, and by 2024, after he wins re-election, he'll certainly will have replaced both Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Souter. So at that point, we could easily be looking at a 7-2 court, and I believe we will, at the end of Trump's 2 terms, have a 7-2 court, regardless of whether it happens in the first term or the second term. But I didn't jinx Ruth Buzzy Ginsburg. I didn't jinx her. I was just making a comment that, you know, something, you know, at her age, you know, anything can happen. Now, you know, of course, we learned today that she fell and broke 3 ribs, and that's not good. And of course, if any of you have elderly grandparents or parents, you know exactly what I mean. When elderly people get to be about in their 80s or so, they begin to have issues with balance, and they fall a lot. And when they fall, their bones break very easily. It's happened to both my grandparents. You know, they had multiple falls and they had injuries when they fall. And so, yeah, I'm you know, this is not good. But something else that needs to be considered about what may have happened to Ruth Bader Ginsburg: she could have been a little tipsy. We know she loves to drink that wine. Yes, she does. In fact, if you remember, she fell asleep during Obama's 2015 State of the Union. I mean, she was sawing logs, my friends. Sawing logs. You've probably seen the video. She was in a deep sleep, man. I mean, sawing logs. And, of course, when she was asked about it the next day, she told the USA Today that she wasn't 100% sober. Wasn't 100% sober. It's possible that maybe her and the Right Reverend Clinton got together and had a couple bottles of wine. Maybe someone should find out if the Right Reverend Clinton came over with a couple bottles of wine. Maybe that's why she fell. But keep in mind, she's had a stroke, a heart attack, cancer. She's got type 1 diabetes. And she likes to drink. And when you're 85 years old and you weigh about 60 pounds, you know, one nice sized glass of some good Merlot can kick your ass. Yes, it can. Jeff the Flake and his girlfriend, Chris Coons, will try to introduce a bill tomorrow to protect Mueller's witch hunt. Now, it's been reported for the last week or so that Uncle Bob the Executioner is currently writing his report on the Russia probe. And I think that has something to do with that little plane trip that Rodenstein took with Trump. Because ever since then, all we've been hearing about is how Mueller is wrapping it up anyway. So the idea that they have to protect the Mueller investigation, it's over, my friends. And even if it's not over, there's another investigation that's about to take center stage. And people are going to forget all about the Mueller probe. And the Commie-crats are going to have a lot more problems than what they can deal with. And there's nothing they can do in the Congress to stop A.G. Whitaker from appointing a special counsel. We'll get back to that. Governor Rick Scott has made a statement that the Palm Beach County officials are illegally preventing party officials, that would be Republican Party officials, inside the ballot counting room. So they are literally being barred from even being able to be in the room. Now, I don't think that that's legal. I'm pretty sure that most county or rules are that you have to provide access to both parties' watchers, whether it's Republicans or Democrats. They both are allowed to have watchers anytime votes are being handled, counted, delivered, moved, transferred, or whatever. This is, I think, throughout the country. So if this is true, and they are not allowing GOP officials into the place where they are counting these new votes, and Rick Scott saying that they somehow have found 15,000 new votes, and that was earlier this morning. No telling how many votes they found by now, but I know that Rick Scott was up 50,000, over 50,000 votes on election night, and somehow he's down to like 16. So they've discovered like 30,000 new votes. Wonder where those came from. What about those overseas, those military ballots? Those usually are Republican ballots. Have they counted them? Likely not. They'll lose those. They probably got these from the Cuba district of Miami. These were probably delivered in a rider truck or something, probably straight from Havana. So we'll find out. But again, this race in Florida and likely in Arizona, these are probably going into the courts. There's a lot of funny business going on here. A lot of funny business, and it's not very funny. We will find that the Commie-crats, again, will do anything to win an election. Lie, cheat, steal, fix votes, register illegals, vote 9 times. Doesn't matter. For Democrats, the ends justifies the means. They are allowed to engage in criminal activity because they have our best interest at heart. This is how they really believe. This is how they justify the horrible things that they do. So as Rick Scott has stated, he's saying that they have found 15,000 new ballots. This will be in Broward County. And so there's, again, this Broward County is the exact same county that seemed to have the issues. Every other county in Florida seems to be able to count their votes. Unfortunately, those liberals who could control Broward County seem to have a difficult time every single damn election counting votes, especially when there aren't enough of them for the Commie-crats. Then they have to start recounting, and they just keep recounting until they find the votes they need. It is clearly a corrupt practice, and it's going to have to be battled out in the courts, I'm sure. But clearly in Broward County, they have a problem with electile dysfunction. And of course, we have the Kristen Sinema in Arizona. They're now saying that they found some new votes for her, and she's now gone into the lead. On election night, McSally was winning. Now they've discovered thousands of emails for Sinema, and they'll keep discovering thousands of emails for Sinema, and they will try to declare her the winner, probably, if not tomorrow, then sometime over the weekend. That will end up in the courts as well. Of course, Kristen Sinema, remember, she was part of the, what's the group, the crazy pink group, Code Pink. She was part of Code Pink. I mean, if you live in Arizona and you voted for someone who belongs to Code Pink, and these are some truly crazy people. I mean, these are some nutty women that belong to Code Pink, and these are women that are straight out of a mental institution. They're like escaped people. It's like they escaped from a mental institution and found their way into a congressional hearing. These are the people I remember, and I'm no fan of George W. Bush, but these are the people who camped out in front of his mailbox for like a year and a half. I mean, these are nutty people, man. And she was one of those. She also marched in the Pink Pussy Hat Parade. She's a nut. She's an absolute nut. And Arizona, man, I don't know what's going on with Arizona. I mean, I always thought of Arizona as like, you just think about Arizona, you think about, the epitome of the frontier, the cowboy, the rugged, conservative type person. It's hard to imagine Arizona delivers people like Jeff the Flake and Senator Magoo and this nutcase right here, and the fact that she would even be a competition between her and a sane person like McSally is just, it's troubling, is what it is. It's troubling. I mean, it really is. I mean, I'm really concerned at this point. There's some serious problems in this country, and I mean they are serious, and they have a lot to do with what's going on in academia, the media, and the bureaucracies, all now controlled by the communists. Not an accident. I did a video 2 years ago, before I even started doing TowerGate videos, and I talked about in a video how the communists came up with a plot, American communists in the 1930s came up with a plot to take over media, academia, and government institutions, believing that in 100 years they could turn the country commie. And they've accomplished it. They're pretty damn close. In fact, if it was purely based on popular vote, I'd almost like to see it just for kicks, a popular vote in the country as to whether or not we should abandon capitalism and start embracing communism. And I think it would be a damn close vote. And that should trouble all of you. Sure troubles me. Matthew Whitaker is not going to recuse himself from the Russia probe. And he's not going to approve any subpoenas for Trump's tax records. Now, you have a lot of people out there today on the left arguing, a bunch of legal idiots arguing, well, we've got these comments he made that he would have indicted Hillary. Yeah, most people would have indicted Hillary. James Comey laid out the case for the crime she committed and then didn't indict her. He said he would have appointed a special counsel to investigate the Clinton Foundation. Of course. It's obvious a pay-for-play money laundering and racketeering scheme. Of course. He said that he thought that the Mueller investigation was out of scope. It had gone beyond its scope. Yeah, absolutely. All these things are true. Now, based on that, you have these liberal so-called judicial commentators or legal experts saying, well, based on that, he must recuse himself. No, he shouldn't. No, he don't. No, he won't. Because he is not running for the Supreme Court. He's not running for a judgeship. He's the Attorney General. And so attorneys, people in the Department of Justice, even if they're in the Department of Justice and on TV as a commentator, they're allowed to give their opinion on what they think about various cases. That's why they bring them on TV. They're not going to be ruling on cases. He's not a judge. He's the acting Attorney General. He can give his opinion on any damn thing he wants. And you can't use that against him to take away his authority to do his job. He's allowed to give his opinion, especially when he's speaking as just, a member of the Justice Department coming on to a news show and he's being asked questions. He's allowed to give his opinion. He's not up for a judgeship. He's not running for judge or anything else. Now, if he were running for judge, he would need to explain these things, and I'm sure he would. He would explain all three of those things, and he would make a hell of an argument, and he would be right. But as far as saying, well, he has to recuse himself because he made these comments, no, he doesn't. No, he don't. He's good. We're all good. He's the man. So, next we have Rodenstein, who's now no longer in charge of the Russia probe because Matthew Whitaker is, and he can do whatever damn thing he wants. In fact, here's what he could do. He can tell Mueller to wrap it up. regardless of what Congress thinks, what Jeff the Flake thinks, and his butt buddy Chris Coons thinks. I don't even care if they pass the measure, and they may. Mitt Romney's all for it. Oh, that's right, Mitwit, Willard Romney, Mitwit Romney has come out and said yes, he will support the Sessions or the Jeff the Flake and Coons bill. Of course he will. Of course he will. Is anyone surprised that Willard Mitwit Romney is going to support that? Anyone surprised at that? I probably think not. Not on this channel. But Rodenstein, of course, was supposed to be out in Colorado giving a speech on Thursday evening. He canceled. So, just as I said in yesterday's video, I expect that Rodenstein will be resigning pretty damn soon. Now Trump's using him for leverage or whatever, but the Mueller thing has already been taken care of. Just like all this we've just been learning about it, but this was all taken care of weeks ago. Sessions knew he was going to be asked to resign weeks ago. Matthew Whitaker knew that he was going to be brought in after Sessions resigned right after Election Day. He's known that for weeks and weeks too. So he's already been working on all these things. He didn't just get surprised. He's known this for weeks. Sessions, Rodenstein, and Whitaker have known for weeks. And you can assume Uncle Bob the Executioner has also known for weeks that this is what was going to happen. And this may be what Trump told Rodenstein on the plane. Hey, buddy, guess what I'm going to do on the day after the election? Just so you know. And you might want to pass this on to Uncle Bob, because he's got some issues. The day after the election, I'm appointing a new acting attorney general. He's going to take over the Russia situation with Uncle Bob. You'll be out, Rodenstein. That's what's going to happen. Now, what you do is totally up to you. You can stick around. You can not stick around. I could care less. Maybe I'll fire you too. Play it however you want it, but you might want to have a talk with Uncle Bob and let him know what's coming. Someone who doesn't appreciate what he's doing, and someone who is at least ways going to represent the Department of Justice, and he's going to go looking for the real crimes. He's going to go looking for the real crimes, Rod. You know, like issuing FISA warrants that you didn't read on American persons when there was no evidence that they were involved or in any way, no evidence that they were committing espionage against the country, acting as a foreign agent. You know, Rod. Carter Page, the guy you signed the FISA warrant on for doing, being accused of such. You better come up with some evidence. That's what you and Uncle Bob better get together on. You better get back to that Carter Page thing, because I'm going to declassify the Carter Page FISA right after the election. And Rod, because you blocked that along with Uncle Bob, guess what? My new guy, he ain't going to block it. He fully supports releasing everything, Rod, including the FISA warrants, including those email conversations between Comey and McCabe that Judicial Watch is being told by Rodenstein do not exist. He's going to declassify it all, Rod. You can do what you want. Do what you want, Rod. Well, he apparently he had a meeting yesterday with Trump. He had a meeting apparently today, and he canceled the speech he was going to give in Colorado. So I think it's very clear that Rodenstein is really kind of a man out of the loop. And, of course, he's also got another problem. He's got McCabe and the former FBI people circling the wagons, and they're going to try to scapegoat him as the criminal party involved in everything. And this is pretty much how that's going to go. It's going to be, it looks like FBI versus DOJ when the indictments come down as to who they're going to try to sacrifice to save their asses. And it looks like the FBI is going to circle the wagons, as DOJ is going to circle the wagons, and they're going to face off. I think they're all going to jail anyway. They're all guilty. And as I said, Trump's making it perfectly clear he is going to declassify these documents, and I think it's going to happen very soon. And we know that Matthew Whitaker supports it. And that's going to be what he needs to appoint a special counsel. And then Uncle Bob's investigation really doesn't matter. All that matters to Uncle Bob is when the special counsel begins investigating this and he finds out all the things that Uncle Bob would have had to have discovered. crimes that he would have had to have discovered that he did not pursue. Instead, he went and continued the witch hunt for his good buddies, Comey, McCabe, and the whole group. Uncle Bob better lawyer up. And I'm not so sure Sessions is out of the woods. Rodenstein's got a lot of problems, and we don't know what Sessions knows. Now, Sessions recused himself, but we'll find out what he knew. And I'm not, saying I think we should go after Sessions or he was part of the Black Hats. I think he was just more weak than anything. But you never know where this could all lead. Now, Pelosi, on the night of the election, tweeted out the following. For those who want to impeach Trump, that's not what our caucus is about. Already sending messages. So what does Pelosi... Here, you guys got to understand something about Pelosi. She is a corporate Democrat. A corporate Democrat. She is a total puppet. Total puppet. Her strings are... She makes no decisions. She makes no decisions. She runs the show. But her strings are pulled by big, fat corporate donors. Many of them on Wall Street and the defense industry and various other industries. The trial lawyers, the big HMOs, they pull Pelosi's strings. And they are, for the most part, corporate Democrats, neoliberals. They're not social justice warriors. They do not support, nor do they think it's even workable, any type of Medicare for all. Nancy Pelosi had to be taken out of a hall she was speaking at this past summer because she was, quite honestly, they were fearing for her safety. She was under attack by social justice warriors while she was trying to explain to them why Medicare for all is not workable. Now she's telling them, the social justice warriors and the commie lefties, that impeachment is not on the table. And the problem that Pelosi has is that she and her colleagues energized the far left wing of the Commie-crats of their base to win the election. Now they expect some dividends, and Pelosi ain't going to deliver. Now she's got to control Mad Max. Mad Max is going to be head of the banking committee, and her very first statement was that she's going to go after Wall Street. Huh? You think so? Well, that's the big corporate Wall Street people who control Pelosi. Pelosi's going to tell Mad Max to put a lid on it. She's not going to allow it to happen. If Mad Max pushes it, believe me, they'll stick it to her. So Pelosi has got a very tough job. She joined in the chorus to radicalize these commie-crats to get them to come out and vote in huge numbers. They believe that Pelosi is going to bring in their agenda. They're going to impeach Trump, investigate Trump, do all this. And these people that will be heading these committees are all saying they're going to do it. But now that they won the election, they're going to kick the commie-crats to the curb and ignore them. They don't need to hear from them anymore. They won't need to hear from them again for 2 years. So as soon as the social justice warriors realize that they got played, and that there ain't going to be no Medicare for all vote, there ain't going to be no impeachment vote, none of this is going to happen. As soon as they realize that, and Nancy Pelosi is going to have a tough time because there are a lot in her caucus who are going to push for that. So she's going to be really caught between, as Sticks would say, between a cock and a hard place. She is going to have the far leftist pushing all over her to do what the Dems said they would do if they elected them. At the same time, she's got the corporate puppet masters who control her, who are going to be telling her that that's insanity and they don't want any part of it. And they control the party. They own the party. Nancy is going to have a very tough, difficult 2 years as leading that crazy caucus of commie-crats that she's somehow going to have to control. Attorney General Whitaker, he has 210 days before he has to stand for a nomination. That's over 6 months. That's like 7 months that he's got. Plenty of time to appoint a special counsel and get the ball rolling to expose the Spygate scandal. And that is exactly what he is going to do. Mark my words. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys have a good night, and I'll be back on Saturday. See ya. Bye.